McCarthy told Fox, "It's back if we go to 2022 levels. There was the spending just 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's not cutting defense by $75 billion. So, the speaker also noted that every single level of the government should be looking at ways to spend less taxpayer money, but Kevin McCarthy remains timid as tensions grow within the White House GOP over possible reductions to defense spending. As a result of the deal, McCarthy reportedly shrugged in his bid to secure the speakership. Now, to cap discretionary spending in the fiscal year 2022, that would effectively cut $75 billion, everybody. $75 billion from the $900 billion of defense spending that the Democrats have and that the Democrats want. The Republican House majority also passed its first bill this week in an effort to revoke a boost in spending for the IRS. McCarthy announced that it was the first order of business because government should work for you, not against you. The bill passed a 221 to 210 vote along the party lines. It would rescind the budget increase of $80 billion given to the IRS earlier this year for the IRA. So now, however, the Biden administration has also threatened to make some big changes. And this is what I'm talking about. With Congress divided between Republican-led House and Democratic-held Senate, the policy priorities of either party may pass in a single chamber, but are unlikely to succeed in both. Partisan measures, therefore, have standing a little chance of becoming law, and the current Congress does not expect to pass a bill, major one that is, that advances the partisan platforms of Republicans or Democrats. Some analysts have worried that Republicans infighting in the recent rules package are a sign of more alarming things to come. They fear that the House may not be able to approve a must-pass bill, including government budgets and bills to raise debt ceiling. Congress holds the purse strings. It allocates the funds to federal agencies and programs, folks. And appropriation bills are passed periodically through Congress. But when it runs out, well, things are done. It's over for them. I do want to say that the Congress holds and last year that needed to approve an increase in the government borrowing power known as the debt ceiling. This means that Democrats warned that if the Republican-held House plays politics too much with the issue, it could lead to a disastrous consequence for the U.S. and the economy. And now our state is on the track to reach a debt ceiling on January 19th, unless Congress does something. In the past, Congress has avoided this raising debt limit, but House Republicans say they will not support another increase unless they get spending cuts or other concessions. Defaulting on the debt would be a first in U.S. history. It would force officials to choose between continuing assistance, like Social Security, and paying interest on the nation's debt. But a House Republicans' payment prioritization plan will call for Biden administration to make the most urgent federal payments if debt limit is reached. This plan is causing some confusion among the Democrats because they really just don't even know what to do and if they should send out stimulus. Well, the truth is they need to, and the truth is they have to send out stimulus now. We got 10 news, but the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, SDI, as well as the SSA. We have a 10 news, but the fourth stimulus payments. You want to be sure to get ready for this because when the stimulus hits the bank, you better be sure to take that money out, save that money, and put it towards somewhere and something good. You definitely have to. You definitely want to. You don't want to waste time on this because, let's get straight into news. Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer are refusing to negotiate with Kevin. That's Kevin McCarthy on raising the nation's debt ceiling. They don't want to raise anything, but the voices across the political spectrum argue that the president and precedent for such talks has been sent already. The former president negotiated with the House Republican majority in 2011 to extend the nation's borrowing authority. That's right, extend the nation's borrowing authority. Nobody knows what that even means. And Obama agreed to negotiate big spending cuts with Republicans, everybody, before the 2012 election because he knew he was ultimately responsible for the health of the economy. It would have taken a major hit if the Fed had defaulted on its debt obligations in 2011. Experts now say that Biden is now in a similar position as he readies his own re-election bid. He won't even be able to resist negotiations. The former Senate Budget Committee chairman has also told reporters failure to deal with his debt limit would be catastrophic to the economy, terrible to the economy, terrible to the world. Any serious person who has studied this knows that the economic consequences will be just disastrous. Conrad said he understands why Democrats refuse to negotiate with Republicans on raising debt limit during Obama's time, but he expects Joe Biden to do something and not act like Obama. So, here it is. Experts have said that Social Security and Medicare are headed for insolvency. And let's be honest, guys, it probably is. Social Security will probably end in a couple years because experts have said that both Social Security is headed for insolvency. So there is an opportunity to do something about this, though. There's an opportunity to fix the problems that everybody's being bothered about. Now, let's get into the most important news first. Biden so far is not negotiating any tremendous pressure from his party to either enter negotiations, with the exception of Joe Manchin. Manchin, who is calling up for re-election, floated the idea of reconsidering reforms to prolong the solvency of federal programs like Medicare, Social Security, for Republicans to export, and for raising debt ceiling. He stated he would put bipartisan, bicameral committees together to look at each of one of the trusts and come up with solutions for how you fix it. Republican aides said refusing to negotiate with Republicans isn't something sustainable. Isn't even something doable, because if you don't negotiate with both parties, you're pretty much acting stupid. Now, a senior Republican aide said that doing this would be a problem. Joe Manchin and Democrats' December's employment and inflation numbers were pretty good, and while we look at the various metrics of the economy, it doesn't appear that we're headed towards a recession. Not yet, at least. One source fears that the Fed is playing a dangerous game of raising the rates to lower inflation. It runs the risk of a recession. However, the most recent numbers indicate that the Fed may be able to pull a soft landing. Soft, easy landing to fix the problems, that is. Unemployment numbers were already down during this time. December, they fell to an even lower number. In the economy as a whole, well, fell again. Hourly job wages growth in December fell from 5 to 4%, and it's not spectacular news for workers, but it's something better than nothing. It shows that at least Joe Biden is trying to do something for the people. Now, besides that, I also want to say that even though Jerome Powell has a stockpile, will help bring gas prices down. So the national average of gas stood at $3.85 a gallon and down 2 cents from Tuesday. So one of the biggest factors in the recent price surge of gasoline has been refineries across the country shutting down either for regular maintenance or following accidents. Now, a number of West Coast refineries that had been offline have returned to operations, and that has sparked a plunge in gas prices west of the Rocky Mountains, driving down the national average. And just last week, the average price in California has fallen 30 cents a gallon, and there's been a 25-cent drop in Oregon and a 20-cent dip in Washington and Nevada. All the refineries dealing with accident repairs won't be back online anytime soon. Those that have been closed for reschedule and maintenance are now near to resuming operations. According to the experts, that will likely lead to lower prices elsewhere in the nation. And even if the drop isn't as precipitous as it has been out west, oil and gas futures fell in Tuesday's trading after word got out that President Biden announced 15 million barrels of oil will be released. And that represented just another phase of the planned release of 180 million barrels of gas over 6 months being released in late March. Oil analysts have also said the markets initially moved due to confusion over whether or not the oil was coming out of strategic reserves. So millions of inflation relief checks actually started going out to taxpayers in California. So the middle class tax refund, as it's called, can be as much as $1,000 depending on your income, residency and filing status, and household status as well. It's part of a $12 billion relief effort that Governor Gavin Newsom prioritizes getting dollars back into the pockets of Californians